Welcome to section 9 of this presentation, which is titled Product Decisions. In fact, I've devoted this section to a discussion on services. Now, a major trend in our modern economy today is the growth of the service industry. And a number of factors have given rise to services. For example, we're looking at the factors like the rising income of people and their demand for a lot of leisure time, like hospitality services, the mobile phone business, and then the banking services. All these have fueled the demand for services in our country. Now, it simply means that we will have to learn a little bit more about services and how they are marketed. Now, Kotler defined a service as any activity or benefit that one party can offer to another, which is essentially intangible and does not result in the ownership of anything. This is where there's a small problem with Kotler's definition. If you define services to include the ownership of something, then I have a problem here, because I go to the bank, I go to the restaurant, or you go to the hotel, and you can see what you own. And so I believe that services do not be tied to the ownership of something. And so we can say that services are all economic activities whose outputs are not tangible goods. In that case, you think services will include hospitality, education, hotel, banking, etc., etc. Characteristics of services. Services are different from products. And the first one is that of intangibility. When we say services are intangible, it means that services cannot be seen, they cannot be felt, or they cannot be touched. And services are experienced only when they are performed. As such, it's difficult for clients to understand the service in advance. And it's also difficult to display and communicate to clients. Service quality, therefore, is hard for clients to determine in advance. But you have to go around this intangibility. And so look at all the strategies companies use to go around the intangibility. For example, what do? They try and make sure that they provide caring employees that provide these services. And you may think that once the employees are caring, then it will translate into good services. Or they think about providing very good tangible environment to be able to match the services. Move to the next feature in that of inseparability. Services production cannot be separated from consumption. For physical products, you can separate the production from consumption because you can produce for stock. And when the market needs them, you can bring them back. But for services, they are produced and consumed at the same time. For example, if a plane, KLM, is leaving for Amsterdam, production and consumption of the service is the same time. Now, one of the challenges here is that the clients are themselves required to participate in the production of the service. And that creates so much problem. So they must be there. Once they are not there, the service is lost. And sometimes the service that is provided is tied to a particular provider. Think about ways that we can make services, this inseparability issue, how do we go around it? Then think about services being variable. Variability means that services can vary from time to time in the same organization or from person to person, which is problematic. The question you ask yourself is that what do we do to make sure that services don't vary unnecessarily? Some of the strategies here will be that you automate the service, so you remove human elements from it. Or you do training. Once you do training, people get to know what to deliver. Or what some do in order to minimize this variation is to establish service standards. Once you establish service standards, people know exactly what to expect at each stage. You go to perishability. Services are perishable. What it simply means is that services cannot be produced, stored, and later brought to the market and consumed. The fluctuations in demand and supply of services creates a lot of instability in the service market. For example, if British Airways is leaving Accra to UK and there are 5 empty seats, it will lose that revenue forever. Similarly, if there are 5 passengers that cannot be taken on board, it will also lose that revenue forever. You need to manage this perishability issue very well by managing fluctuations in demand and supply. And one of the techniques that companies use is to do appropriate pricing. And once you price appropriately, so the airline, for example, during the lean season, they will cut down the price so that people will find it more convenient and motivating to buy the service during that time. Or what you can also do is that you can decide that during the lean season, you reduce the price, or during the peak season, you actually increase the price. So you do price variation to be able to manage perishability. And you have service quality. One of the things you learn in services is that of service quality. And we say that quality means different things to different people. While some have described it as a mark of uncompromising standards and high achievement, others have also said that quality lies in the eyes of the beholder. It is, however, generally agreed that consumers learn to recognize quality only through the experience gained from repeat exposure. Service quality is tested at each service encounter, where perceived service falls below the expected service. Customers will be dissatisfied, and dissatisfied customers will rarely return on the same service provider. On the other hand, if service perceptions exceed customer expectations, customers return to the service provider again and further recommend the service provider to other customers. The measurement of service quality allows a firm to locate problem areas with service quality and enables the firm to compare the changes made before and after and to set standards for future service delivery. The question is, why do we have to worry about service quality? And what do we mean by service quality? We need service quality in all organizations because it is what you use to achieve competitive advantage. Again, service quality is important because it affects the profitability. If you produce and your service is very good, excellent, you don't do rework, then you can make more profit. And it affects the morale of employees. Employees who work for companies that are known for good quality service are always in high morale. But how do we measure service quality? One way by which we can measure service quality is to use the self-qual model. Now, self-qual was developed by Parashuraman and co. in the US in 1985. They came out with 5 variables, which they think, with 10 variables in 85, which they think measure service quality. But a lot of criticisms went along with that model. In 1988, they revised their model and came out with 22 items that will measure service quality. These 22 items is what they call the self-qual model. And they believe that the self-qual model for measuring service quality is based on how reliable the service is, which is the ability of the firm to perform the promised service dependably and accurately. Responsiveness, the willingness to help customers and to provide prompt service. Assurance, the knowledge and courtesy of employees and the ability to convey trust and confidence. Empathy, the provision of caring, individualized attention to customers. And tangibles, the appearance of physical facilities, equipment, personnel, and communication materials. These are the 5 variables which in 1988, Parashuraman and his friends proposed for measuring service quality. I repeat again, they are called the self-qual instrument. And some call them the Rater scale, where R becomes reliability, R again becomes responsiveness, another A becomes assurance, and then E becomes empathy, T tangibles, and the rest. Thank you. We've come to the end of slide 9. Thank you.